So what is instructor presence? To me, when I think about that, it really makes me think a lot about our sense of connection with our students and what it means to personalize our stories for them and how we set our tone within the classroom. So for example, talking about our own narratives, how we can better connect with them in relation to that, and what we basically want to share to them about ourselves so that we can be actually more real to our students. Some examples of doing this is our welcome video, just talking a lot about our working style as professor, our expectations, our interests that make us human. And for example, if you are a professor that loves to incorporate more rigor, especially our writing, it's really even talking to them about your expectation as even being a hard professor. I know in the past, I've even had some professors where they did grade a lot harder for their students. And their main reason why they ended up doing that is they ended up saying, the reason why that's important for them is that in the field, it's very competitive. So they wanted their students to know the rigor and the standard that was set for them in that marketplace. And so when they finally told their students about why they did that, and it was their sense of caring, students were able to understand that in comparison to when they didn't explain that at all. Another example of that is even through engaging announcements. Again, areas that have been difficult, really being able to explain and provide real world examples and allowing students to understand maybe that gap on why they may not understand an assignment or in relation to whatever content that they're even reading about within that course. For me, when I think about connecting with our students, I think about the example of when I talk to students at orientation. For me, what I wanted to do was I wanted to make sure that I personalized my story to let them know even my role here at LAPU and why that was really important for me to connect with them. So in relation to that, I ended up talking to them about my story, even as a second generation Korean American, growing up just within the Korean American community, just seeing that mental health was very rampant, but not really talked about because we are considered to be a model minority. So with regards to that, that was my search, I guess you can say, to really think a lot more about mental health, even when I was back in high school. Eventually I ended up going to grad school where I did get my doctorate in sociology of mental health. And that led me to the government work where I worked at Los Angeles County Department of Public Health and really provided out services for our community in relation to mental health disparities and basically being able to promote equity. And then eventually, as I provided those services out into the community, why it led me back to LAPU, because in a lot of ways, it was really important for me to tell students and even students that ended up going into the field, how to better train them within those areas so they could provide out compassionate care for the populations that they serve in the areas of psychology and health sciences. So in relation to that, what are those important factors when we think about instructor and presence? The main thing being present, right? Because once you do that, it helps to set the tone and create that atmosphere, and you're welcoming our students. Another is also providing meaningful feedback, not providing generic information, but something that is more individualized and personal. To me, I think what's also really important is even providing skill set or building that skill set. So even as we provide feedback, showing students how with that certain skill set that you're trying to build within them, how that translates back into the workforce, how that makes them competitive even as a professional. When we're thinking about meaningful feedback, even within our discussions, making sure that students are challenged to think critically and push themselves to think outside the box, that they see the world from a different, more educated lens. So in that sense, bringing diverse perspectives that help to share and redefine their worldview so they can also provide compassionate perspective as well as care services to the communities that they serve and they are surrounded by. Another factor is also remembering the weight of your position, that the tone that you set with your students has also influence, whether it's positive or negative. Remembering that how you approach them is how they will respond back to you. That at the end of the day, it's about us being their mentors, really championing them along. For example, I even had a professor where he worked with some of our problem or risk behavior students that had problems within the classroom, within that course. And what he ended up doing is that he really made them feel that they were being heard and that they were being seen even within that setting. And so he really met a lot of the students where they were at. And with regards to that one particular student that had a lot of difficulties here at LAPU, she ended up shining and doing very well within his classroom just because she felt that she was being heard and seen. Another factor is also making sure that we provide empathy, but at the same time not enabling our students. So in that sense, being open and understanding their stories, but not enabling them, because again, it's really important that we keep them accountable and we don't sugarcoat anything, because again, the more that we sugarcoat, that's doing a disservice for them. It's really about making sure that their skill sets and what they learn here can be translatable to when they go outside to the field. So again, that they can be marketable and also competitive in the marketplace as working professionals. And finally, just to sum it up, when we think about the sense of instructor presence and connection, it's really mainly about sharing our stories and really being vulnerable. Again, it's really about showing them that we're human and personalizing that space for them so that they can also share their story as well. So in that sense, it's about how we draw them in that really truly builds connection. So hopefully with all the things that I've talked about, that also helps you guys to think a little bit about what instructor presence means to you and how you personalize your story. Thank you.